I'm a big fan of oats. It must be the food I eat the most of, and when I'm not eating them, I put them on my face sometimes to prevent it from breaking out. Today, I bring to you 5 easy-to-make, delicious porridge recipes. As always, you can tag me in your recreation photos on Instagram, and that's all I wanted to say for this intro, so let's begin. For this first idea, we're making a cherry vanilla oatmeal that sort of tastes like cake to me. To a small saucepan, add small cut oats, a generous pinch of salt, a small amount of cinnamon, some sort of vanilla, I'm using a couple drops of this aroma kind, 2 teaspoons of chia seeds or flax seeds, sweetener of choice, and non-dairy milk. Mix it all together and bring the heat to medium-high. In the meantime, quickly combine either a tablespoon and a half of vanilla pudding custard powder with water, or just use cornstarch because it's essentially the same thing. Once this starts bubbling, pour in the cornstarch, mix while you mix continuously. Then turn the heat to medium and let everything continue to cook for 6 to 8 minutes. In the end, I mixed in frozen cherries, which is the most amazing addition to any oatmeal, and also a splash of oat cream, which is optional, of course. I topped my bowl mug off with cashew butter, blueberries, and rice syrup. Let's move on to this minty chocolate oatmeal. To be honest, I'm not the biggest fan of putting those 2 flavors together, but then again, I do love minty hot chocolate, which makes no sense. So I thought, why not try add oats to the hot chocolate and see how that goes. To a small saucepan, add 2 teaspoons of unsweetened cacao, along with just a tiny splash of non-dairy milk. Bring the heat to medium and stir those 2 together. Then add a sweetener of choice and the rest of the milk. Also add a peppermint tea bag. Let it steep on medium-low for like 5 minutes, depending on how strong you want the mint flavor to be. Leave it in for longer or less long. After you've removed the tea bag, add the remaining ingredients: small cut oats, salt, and flax seeds. Bring the heat up to medium and let it cook for 6 to 10 minutes. Also added a few chocolate chips in there. I topped everything off with soy yogurt, strawberries, and more chocolate chips. I did quite like it in the end, and my mom, who loves anything chocolate chip mint related, gave this a 10 out of 10. This third recipe also kind of plays with the idea of using tea to infuse your milk with. This is for overnight chai latte couscous oats, a fancy name for a not so fancy looking breakfast. Add some non-dairy milk to your saucepan. Bring it up to a boil and add a bag of chai tea. Then turn down the heat to medium-low and let it sit there for like 6 to 10 minutes. In the meantime, get a breakfast bowl and add the following things: couscous, small cut oats, semi-ground flax seeds, cinnamon, and salt. Mix it up. Remove the tea bag and make sure to squeeze out every last drop of spice. Then, very important, bring the heat back up to high for just a brief moment. As soon as it's boiling, take it off the heat and pour it over the couscous oat mix. Let that sit for like 12 to 15 minutes. This last step is optional, but you can also add a few tablespoons of either mashed banana, which is what I'm doing, applesauce, or vegan yogurt, right before putting this into the fridge overnight. It's easiest to just put a plate on top and place it into the fridge. I wanted to make this look all Pinterest-esque, so I transferred it to a small jar. The next day, maybe add some extra fruit, some nuts, some non-dairy milk. It's very yummy, very filling. For recipe number 4, I'm giving Savory Oatmeal another try. It is kind of weird, but I am surprised by how yummy this actually was. And it's so much more convenient than having to cook up rice. To your saucepan, add rolled oats, small cut oats, and vegetable broth. Bring it up to a boil and then let it simmer on medium for 6 to 10 minutes while stirring frequently.
So long to burning slowly, smelling sweat and kerosene. And all the actors on the stage are rolling cigarettes and whispering solo.
For my topping, I cut up 2 bell peppers and rinsed a half a can of kidney beans. Brought a large, lightly greased skillet to medium-high. Once it was hot, added the peppers and let them brown for like 5 to 8 minutes. I was gone for a moment until my brother decided to take over, actually saving these peppers. I would have burnt them for sure. Then I added the kidney beans and my spices, so the pizza spice mix and the garlic powder. Let this cook for another 2 to 3 minutes before removing it from the heat and topping the porridge with it. Recipe video for those onions is linked in the description. Would highly recommend. I also sprinkled over black sesame seeds for the aesthetic, and then added some ready-made grilled veggie tomato sauce and hummus. Let me know in the comments, what would you put on a savory oatmeal? This last and final recipe is gonna be a little something different. It's a crispy baked oatmeal. First off, preheat your oven. Then to a small mixing bowl, add semi-ground flax seeds and water. Let this sit for about 5 to 10 minutes while you combine the dry ingredients. Small cut oats, salt, baking powder, and raw sugar. Then add the wet ingredients to the flax egg, vanilla, vegetable oil, non-dairy milk, and I also added some lemon zest to give it some extra flavor. Pour wet ingredients into the dry ones and mix it all up. Line a baking pan with parchment paper. Anything between 20 by 20 centimeters and 25 by 25 centimeters should work out fine. Also, a great tip that I did not come up with is to wet the baking paper a little bit and then to crumple it up in your hands before you add it to the baking pan. That way it aligns easier to its shape. Does that make sense? Add the oat mix and smooth out the top using a spatula.
I got a mixtape, I can say with a fixed rate of like $3.99. They just open their eyes and see that my college.
Bake this for about 30 minutes until golden brown. And that's it. Serve these with some vegan yogurt and a spoon. This is very hard to eat with a fork. Or by hand. By hand works great. Here I made a piece Raffaello flavored by adding this coconut almond butter I found at Edeka recently. It's basically the same as the Natura one, except for being even less healthy, probably. And then I also added some desiccated coconut on top. This was so good. And that, my friends, concludes all the recipes for today. Let me know what you think about them in the comments. In the description, I'll have links to a couple more porridge recipes I've made in the past, like the carrot cake one, the cinnamon raisin oatmeal. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you have a great week. Until next time. Bye.
I'm on the rooftop, yeah. I'm on the rooftop, yeah. I'm on the